Hi everyone, I'm testing out my first video. Let's see if this works. So this is for my nonsense students. I miss you guys. I hope you're bearing up okay. Do what you have to do. Keep your social distance, wash your hands. We all need each other, and really young people, we need you guys. Okay, so I'm going to try the thing, which is to start a little lesson on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I think it'll be good for all of us to be reading that book. I thought I'd start by reading you the opening poem. Most people might not bother even talking about it. They get right into the book. But I'm going to read you the poem, which I love to do, and then maybe I'll just talk a little bit about the first stanza. And this is my first test video. Okay, I'm already at 48 seconds. I better speed it up. Okay, here goes. All in the golden afternoon, full leisurely we glide, for both our oars with little skill by little arms are plied, while little hands make vain pretense our wanderings to guide. Ah, cruel three, in such an hour, beneath such dreamy weather, to beg a tale of breath too weak to stir the tiniest feather. Yet what can one poor voice avail against three tongues together? Imperious Prima flashes forth her edict to begin it. In gentler tones, Secunda hopes there will be nonsense in it, while Tertia interrupts the tale not more than once a minute. Thus grew the ooh, I missed a part. I guess I have to stop there because my book is torn. Look, I have such an old version. I've used it so many times. Okay, I love that poem. Let's look at the beginning, okay, for your lesson for today. So this poem is the story of how Lewis Carroll came up with the book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. He told the story to a real girl named Alice Little. And it started apparently on July 4th, 1862, when he was taking a rowboat ride with Alice and her two sisters. Lorena and Tilly, the little one. So, or Edith, but they called her Tilly. So the first stanza, that'll be today's lesson as this is a test. All in the golden afternoon. So golden, I always tell students when I'm teaching in the classroom, it represents perfection. So gold, like the golden age of man. But one of the things that's interesting is that people looked back at the weather, what was the weather like at Oxford, where Lewis Carroll lived on July 4th, 1862, and it was rainy. So it shows you that sometimes things change in our memories. So he's looking back and seeing it as a time of perfection because it's when Alice, the little girl that he really loved, we'll talk about that, not today, so that it was a perfect time. Afternoon, you might skip that word, but we're not going to, because afternoon introduces the theme of time, which is going to be essential in this book, the theme of time. Think about the Mad Tea Party where time is stopped, right? And the book's about, in many ways, it's about growing up. And it's weird because think about our lives now, and in some ways time has stopped too, right? Like we're all kind of, things have stopped. And yet in other ways, time moves on. So full leisurely we glide. It might be a good idea, guys, if you're looking at your book. I just thought of that now. If you look at the words in this stanza, okay, the first stanza of the poem. So leisurely and gliding. To me, they're very important themes in the book also. And these are themes I didn't notice when I first started my research. And first, maybe 100 times that I read this book, because I'm up to several hundred times by now. So it introduces this idea of like we talked about pleasurable play, leisure, gliding. And again, in our lives now, we have more time for leisure and gliding. For both our oars with little skill by little arms are plied while little hands. So there I want you to see that the word little is repeated 3 times. And if you remember your Freud, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's play on words, double meaning with a modification based on the proper name. Because the 3 sisters, their last name was Little. It was pronounced Little, though it was spelled Liddell. So why 3? It's a reference, I believe, to those girls. Make vain pretense our wanderings to guide. So the word pretense, that'll be the end of today's lesson. Pretense ties into pretending, and in many ways that's how we learn to do stuff. We pretend, right? Little kids are pretending all the time. I pretended when I was little to be a teacher in the basement of my parents' house. And maybe thinking about pretending, maybe it's a good day for us to think about like what pretending means using imagination. But sometimes when things are hard, we can pretend that we can manage, thinking about that. Maybe that's useful for us in this hard time that we're living through and the hard things that are still to come. Maybe we start by pretending that we can make it, pretending that we can manage, pretending we'll get through it. And maybe that'll help us get through it. Okay, I'm going to try to post this. Even though I hate Mayos, it's all I have. Go ahead and Mayo me. Tell me if this worked for you, and use the forums to ask me questions about your papers. And I look forward to hearing from you, even if it's by Mayo. Okay, be strong, be good to each other and your families, and follow the rules. Okay, bye.